the government basically stops voluntary exchange from happening and benefiting society.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, yeah, my buddy came home one day and he started telling me about it, and I kind of blew it off, to be honest with you. I gave it a quick look, and
Yeah.
I didn't get into it enough. And then it wasn't until like maybe a year later I really got into it and started looking at it. And I've always been Litecoin advocate since like 2012, like the very beginning.
Man.
So that was sort of my thing.
Okay.
And then I actually purchased a little Litecoin back then. I think it was at the beginning of 2013. I actually bought my first Litecoin.
How much was
It was super cheap. It was like $3 or $4, but I paid a premium because I think I bought it on eBay or something. To be honest with you, I wasn't like on an exchange yet. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I should even be saying that, but yeah. And then I stored a few of those, and my original Mac Mini died on me, the hard drive. It was when everybody was storing them on their hard drives and like running full nodes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with cryptocurrencies right there. I learned early that I was one of the real early adopters that learned some hard mistakes.
That's crazy. So how many Litecoin did you have, or how much Litecoin did you have on that hard drive when you first got it?
It wasn't a ton, but it was enough to hurt a little bit right now. It was probably like 4 or 5.
Damn,
Maybe $1,500, $2,000 right now.
What? That's still a lot though. I was hoping.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
It's better that it wasn't like 10 or 15 or 100, something like that. But it was still depressing.
Oh man,
it was
that's crazy. So I'm assuming they call you the Pittsburgh HODLr because you moved to Pittsburgh and you've been in the game for a long time.
Well, yeah, I moved back here. I grew up in Youngstown, right outside of Youngstown, which isn't far from Pittsburgh. So that's just kind of my moniker. I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are all right. Now let me stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. So when did you get into like trading? When did you get into all that stuff?
I'm not huge into trading, to be honest with you. I'm more of like my moniker. I'm basically a hodler. Okay. I'm just trying to stack a nice bag for the next moonshot. Really, I think the next one could be. I was writing down some prices today, but
okay.
I don't know if you want to get into that now or not.
Okay. So then when did you officially decide to you want to get on social media, you want to start talking about this thing, you want to talk about the news and everything like that? Because I think you're on episode 83 now, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think I did episode 83 today. I started writing about Bitcoin back in 2013, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever the first Bitcoin bull was, and I don't know, it was a football bull game. I wrote an article about that. That was the first time I really did any writing or anything like that. But I didn't break into the vlogs until the beginning of this year, the end of last year.
What made you do that? You just decided it was time or something?
Yeah, I just decided it was time. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, and I wanted to share it with people. Not to boast or anything, but I feel like I should be capitalizing on just being around for this long.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way too. I got in. I didn't get in as early as you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I got in at 2016, and then for me it was kind of just I was addicted ever since I got in. Like you, this thing is kind of like a thought virus because it's you start researching all this, then you start realizing man, we're kind of in the matrix in terms of how things are run. And then you just keep learning, you're learning, and it's I got to start sharing this shit, man.
Yeah, you get the bug. I know I got the bug when I first started looking at it, and it's really, I got away from it for a little bit. Like I said, when my computer crashed, I got a little discouraged.
Yeah.
But once, now that the space is built up so much, it's those mistakes are harder to make. You can still make them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just always thought, I've always seen the I've always seen, I don't know how to put it, the possibilities. I just think they're vast with crypto overall. I think the poorest countries, I think we've seen the banks and stuff take advantage of poor countries long enough, and first even the richer countries too. It's just I think people were just fed up, and I think it's going to start growing even more. You know, you see the big money coming in now.
Yeah, of course.
It's just it's good to teach people which projects to get into too. I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time, especially like with not only with the crash that we saw, but just in general. Like when I noticed that people were starting to like come into it a lot, and then like November and December, like people were putting their money in projects that I would deem questionable. And at one point, like I had a whole bunch of friends putting their money in BitConnect, and I was like, no, bro, don't do that. They had people calling me, telling me like, oh yeah, yo, should I put my money in BitConnect? And I was like, oh, don't. I wouldn't. I mean, I personally wouldn't do it, but like, you know, we know what happened to BitConnect now, and it's kind of great that, you know, most of my friends didn't put money into BitConnect at the time, but like people were making decisions like putting their money in stuff like BitConnect, and I was just like, man, like what we really need is education.
Yeah, definitely. Too many people just watch like one YouTube video or something and then just jump into like the first person that's advertising on there. I know BitConnect was advertising like crazy on YouTube. Yeah, it was like every time you watch a YouTube video about cryptocurrency, 100% they were the ad afterwards.
Yeah, I mean,
before.
Bro, I even remember when I came onto the scene early. I remember when some of these BitConnect guys literally had like 5K subs, 10K subs. Like I remember when CryptoNick had like 2K subs, and Trevon James had like 5K subs, and literally when that rocket ship took off, when the moonshot started happening, these guys jumped from like 5K subs to 20K subs, then like 20K subs to like 100K subs, and then like literally just blowing up everywhere. I remember like I think before Crypto Nick got off of YouTube, he was at like 120K subs at least. I was just like, yo, this is insane. Like, and they're pumping this scam, and the prices of these things just keep going up. And I'm like, there's no way they can support all these people. This thing has to be a scam, and somebody's gonna get burned from it. And what do you know?
It was amazing that people didn't catch on to that faster. Like I don't know what that says about education.
Yeah, I'm just like, yo, we're already getting unheard of returns from crypto in general, and now you want more? Like what more do you want?
Those people were the greedy people got burnt. That's like some sort of tale or whatever, fable.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, Ripple was giving people like a 10,000% return, and I'm like, you guys want more? Like, there's no way this is gonna end pretty.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how many people got into BitConnect and Ripple at the same time. It was like bad project after bad, but and BitConnect wasn't even a cryptocurrency. It wasn't even. It literally wasn't even a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were only on like their own exchange and maybe like one other one. I'm just like, there's no way this is gonna end well.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Ripple too. Just I don't feel too good about it either. I don't know how you feel about Ripple. What do you think about Ripple?
What do I mean, honestly, like I don't know. I tell people because I'm long. Like I used to be one of those guys where like I had my money in every single project. But like I started doing research, reading Austrian economics, reading about just economics in general, and crypto projects in general. And then what I started doing was, instead of just talking to everybody, I would only talk to like PhDs, researchers who are into crypto. And then I pretty much got convinced that I need to take my money out of all these projects and just switch my position from going short. Well, not short on everything, but I mean, switch my position from being long on all these projects to long on just a few. So my money's not in Ripple just because I have no reason to place Ripple over Bitcoin or Ethereum in my opinion. So I mean, the research that I've done basically says that we're gonna have crypto is gonna go mainstream, and that's one. And then two, we're gonna have a gigantic crash, kind of like .com bubble kind of crash where a lot of these projects fail. So I'm just like, I'm putting my money into projects that I think are gonna be here. And so my money is really only in a few. Well, first of all, I don't own cryptocurrency, for just in case anyone's asking. You know what I mean? But
yeah. This is all speculation on speculation.
But if I were to put money in cryptocurrencies, it would only be in a few. But I don't own any.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, I don't like the centralization of the Ripple token or whatever they call it, XRP.
I will say though, they have made an effort to decentralize it even more. Just because I have people who are in it and who follow it religiously, they have made an effort to decentralize it in the aspect of not just Ripple. The company has some of their nodes, like I think they have like 64 nodes or something like that, and those nodes are spread amongst some of the top companies. But in my opinion, like, you know, I can't spin up a Ripple node tomorrow, but I think I can spin up like a validator. It's a very complex system, and it's misunderstood to a degree, but there is a degree of centralization. But you can argue that for a lot of cryptocurrencies too, even like Bitcoin to an extent is centralized in the mining. Not in
Yeah, you're right.
Not in a protocol.
And the development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
which is scary because I was just watching something about Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, the original, you know, Bitcoin Core, as Roger Ver likes to call it, but it's just somebody's got to lead the ship, I guess, and it's the developers in most cases.
Yeah. So
or I mean, if you got a Charlie Lee or a Dan Larimer or whatever, you got, you know, somebody in charge.
Yeah. So I mean, when I hear, I know that nothing is really fully decentralized, but I just know there's more power amongst people versus like traditional government money, where you know it's printed to infinity. You know what I mean? At your expense.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there's an intermediate. There's no real intermediary, but somebody's sort of setting the protocol or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that you run by. You know. Yeah.
And I will say, as long as you know you prove yourself worthy enough to interact with Bitcoin on a protocol level, I'm pretty sure you can suggest a change and it be valid. You know, I'm not at that level yet, unfortunately, but I understand like how things work. I can't just suggest some bullshit change and then expect everyone to get behind me when I have no credibility and nobody.
That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
We need to be. We're getting up our impressionability or whatever you want to say.
I understand that the market is at a. Well, speaking of which, what do you think about the current state of the market?
I think the market's. I think we bottomed, but I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't look at a lot of TA. I do look at some. I don't know. I don't know if it's valid or not. I think it's probably just as valid as guessing personally, but I think we're heading back up again. I think all the money coming back in. We dropped down to like, I think the low was like 250 billion total market cap, somewhere in that area, maybe a little lower than that. And now we were up today at around 320 billion, and yesterday it was 335 billion. So I don't know. I think that I see more money coming back in, which is good.
Yeah, I kind of do too. And personally, for me, I think we need to hit 85. I'm not much of a technical analyst, but I will do it from time to time just to understand, like, hey, where we are in terms of the market, where we are in terms of volume in the market, price, and where I think we need to be. And for me personally, it seems like, and I could be wrong too, because like you said, I think that a lot of this shit is guessing, in my opinion. I think it's just an educated guess. A lot of people swear by TA. I just kind of look at it as a way to kind of understand what's going on. And for me, it seems like 8,500 is the next spot that we need to hit, just because I had it charted out too. I had it charted out, and my chart basically said, hey, we need to cross 85 because I'm looking at a 231 moving average. A lot of people look at 200. And 8,500 seemed to be where we would break the 231 moving average. And you know, as far as I know, we got to like 8,400. We actually got to the high 8,400s. Then boom, got rejected. So I was like, okay.
It did hit 8,400?
Yeah, we got.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Not the 7-day moving average, but a couple. If you look at the candlestick, if you look at a couple of the candles, you'll see candles touching the 8,400 area. Then just smacked right back down. So, right now it seems like 8,500 area. Then I got some friends saying like, "Nah, we're in the bull trap. We just had a sudden burst of volume, and then volume went right back down." So, like I said, man, this shit is guessing. Like it's literally, to me, it just seems like guessing.
And while 250 or 335 billion sounds like a lot to us, now that these big investors are coming in, they can move it, $20 billion or whatever. I don't know what the figures exactly are, but I'm sure that they can with, one day, one person can, or one firm could move it, substantially,
Well, I mean,
$1,000
I mean,
maybe.
what did we see a couple of weeks ago with that Mt. Gox trustee sell off? A lot of people was blaming him, one person, for moving the market. What did he sell? They said
Yeah.
he sold like $400 million worth of what BTC.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's pretty crazy. The one guy could, if that's really how the market crashed, that's kind of scary.
yeah, I think that's very scary, but I also think that goes to show you that we're nowhere near adoption in terms of market cap, because I know we'll be in that near adoption phase when one person can't just move the market.
Yeah, that's actually a positive if you think about it long term.
Yeah.
Somebody getting rid of all those coins. You don't want somebody holding that many, really.
Yeah, and
Theoretically, I don't think you do.
yeah, and as much as I pray for, the Lambos and the
Yeah.
Ferraris and all the fast cars, I understand that wealth is built during these accumulation phases when everything is low. Like, this is prime time for you to buy, because when everything goes back up, you're gonna be like, damn, I wish I bought it when it was at 6,500. Like, I know you saw those memes. I know you saw those memes where people are like, oh, you got any more of those $6,500 Bitcoin? I'm like, yo, right back.
Yeah.
Right.
All the people that are into FUD came out real fast there when the price dropped. They were, putting up fake Lamborghini, like little toy Lamborghinis, and spraying them like they were washing their Lambos and stuff. But now the price is going back up. They're talking Lambos again, so it's kind of funny to watch that.
I just think how crazy hype just affects all of this stuff, because even when you look at Google Analytics, when you look at volume on charts, when you look at even YouTube subscriber counts and the rates people are getting subs, it's just crazy how that one hype phase, which is directly driven by market cap and price and FOMO and all that stuff, it's just crazy how it just spreads like a virus and just goes into all facets of the space, from media to just money in general to sentiment.
Sorry, my dog was coming in over here. She wanted to get on the show, man.
It's all good. Even I can see even the the low market cap and the fear is getting to your dog, but
yeah. No, I think it's kind of funny. Her name is Liberty, so it's a little ironic. But sorry about that, man. But yeah, I honestly think I wrote a figure down today. I don't know if it's going to come this year or not, but I think we're heading to 30,000 on the next Bitcoin run, which isn't really that crazy to say.
You're
I
not
don't
the
think.
first to say that. You're not.
Oh, really?
You're not. I've heard that at least 3 or 4 times from some analysts have been saying that. Close friend of mine was saying that. I think we could see, and like I said, not financial advice. I don't even own cryptocurrency. Like, so y'all who are asking, I own shit. But I think, I've heard, better yet, that we could go to like 50. Some people are saying, okay, we'll go to 50 and we'll bottom at 30 next time. Tomorrow's bottom is like today's top or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard people say that before.
Yeah, I think 30 grand is very realistic. And if you think about it, it's not that far off from 20.
No, it's not. And if people just take a step back, even after the 55, we had 5,500% gains in Bitcoin. I believe that in 7,500% last year in Litecoin. If you just look at those two, I mean, I know they took some hard hits and they probably lost 70% each or whatever it was, but I mean, it's still crazy gains. Show me something else that gets 1,800 or 2,000% gains per year.
And even with those 60% pullbacks, 70% pullbacks, 55% pullbacks, I look at it as a very important lesson I look at it as an important lesson in HODLing, and just as, sorry, I'm a little bit tired, but just as like, what the hell could happen in this game? You can't expect 500% returns all the time without some kind of crash, some kind of correction, whatever filler word you want to use to describe prices going down. Like, things physically cannot go up forever.
Yeah, even the people that were have been around forever in this space, I noticed even them, everybody gets that fever once it starts to head up.
Yeah.
So once it goes parabolically for so long, I think on the next run up, that'll be something to learn from on the last one. That I don't know if there's a timetable or what you would look at percentage wise, or the duration of the outbreak, maybe, or whatever, the breakout.
I mean, and I'm a big fan of just auditing everything, even including yourself. And I kind of look at it like, look, next time, like we see this euphoria, not just in the market, but just in people around you, it's time for you to do the opposite. You know, be greedy when people are fearful. Be fearful when everybody's being greedy. Now, I know firsthand what it's like for the market to be in utter euphoria, parabolic prices. And I know that next year, if we see something like this, or the following year, if we see something like this, it might be time for me to watch those charts like a hawk. No, better yet, screw the charts. It might be time for me to get out, because you spend all this time watching the charts, and you might just try to time it. You might just try to time the market. And the thing is, I don't think, like, I'm not skilled enough to time the market, but I'm skilled enough to know when to get the hell out. And
See, that's what I'm with you. When you start getting in the majority, you need to like step back, whatever that quote is, and look at things a little closer, because you don't want to be in the majority. Normally, the majority is making bad decisions, from what I've seen overall in life. Like you said, it's just kind of like a trend or whatever. That's one trend you have to look at. Don't be in the majority.
Exactly. So I mean, that's just how I kind of look at everything. So quick question. What do you think about like I'm not going to call them shit coins, but what do you think about, I guess, projects that people have been looking at as suspect? I'll give you an example. Have you heard about the recent news with Verge? Like the whole 51% attack. Then the dev didn't know they were pushing a hard fork, and then even a partnership with Pornhub and all that. What do you think about that?
I heard about the partnership today with Pornhub. I could answer a question about that maybe, or something. Or I mean, I don't know a ton about Verge, to be honest with you. It's not one of the ones I look at all the time, but I know a lot of people are into Verge, and I will say that I think that partnership is pretty big for them, because I think that's I think people are underestimating that medium for people are going to want to use that to I just see it happening. Honestly, I don't know, there's something about the anonymity, and it just and if you look at the Silk Road and stuff, that was kind of like the same aspect. I'm sure it's already been used for that for years, but this is just like a major company adopting it now, I guess.
So I mean me personally, I know like there's a lot of controversy around Verge, and now that they have this partnership, I honestly don't know which side of the fence I fall on with that project, or a whole bunch of other projects that are, a lot of people look at them as questionable projects, but at the same time, like, okay, they have all these partnerships, but like the researcher in me tells me that the partnerships and all that stuff doesn't matter, because when adoption comes and we have this big crash, which I think is going to happen, none of that is going to matter. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I can't ignore the fact that this is happening. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong too. I don't want to be, I don't want to be right. I want everyone to do well, but I know it's just not going to happen. Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of people that lose everything they own. Just being real, like, I think that you're going to see, like, I'm sure people have already like maxed out credit cards and everything, like, and put it into centralized projects that have no real direction.
Yeah, I mean, but that's precisely why banks started banning people from making crypto purchases with credit cards. JP Morgan, Bank of America, all those guys. Don't get me started with those guys.
Oh man, that's another show. We can talk about banking on another one.
I kind of feel like shit because I used to work at a bank. I'm just like, like damn.
Oh man, you got out. That's bless you.
It's different being on the outside. What people say about being on the outside versus like when you're inside a particular bank. I wasn't high up there, but we use there's a lot of terminology that goes over the fucked up shit that happens. If that makes sense. Like,
it does.
Easing, all that stuff. Like
they normalize the theft inside banking. It seems like they take good people and they turn them into bad people, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of, and And the thing is, you don't really realize it because it's so subliminal, but at the same time, it's very normalized. Like it's very the stuff that you do, it just seems normal. You know what I mean? So you don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You may not necessarily know that your policies are screwing over hundreds of thousands of people, or what you're doing could lead to the next great recession, stuff like that. It seems normal.
Yeah, it's like rah, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, just my perspective from being on the inside.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of which, what do you think about regulation? I gotta ask this question for everybody.
That's a good question. I think that it's inevitable for sure. And oh man, I'm so anti-regulation to be honest with you. But some parts, I mean, I know it has to happen. There are parts like it has to happen, but then you look at like some of the earliest stuff, like that Benjamin Losky thing in New York City, where he basically came up with the license for to have a cryptocurrency exchange or whatever in New York, and then he went and then he came up with that bill and then went and worked for the company or whatever. It was just like clearly exactly what we're trying to avoid in this space. You know what I mean? Yeah. People like it's blatant fascism,
Yeah,
to be just call it out, merger of corporate and state powers, basically.
I personally am completely against the idea of the bit license. While I understand the intention behind it, I personally think it did more harm than good to a lot of crypto businesses. Because I've done numerous articles on it, and I've read articles on it too, and on average, with legal paperwork and all that stuff, it cost $500,000 to just get the bit license.
Yeah, just for that's an older example, but just for an example, I do think it is good, that the exchanges are sort of audited and stuff. I don't want to see I've seen a lot of FUD about Tether and them printing up so many Tether that they're like. A lot of people thought that they were to blame for blowing that bubble up. So I don't know.
Don't get me started with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That seems like sort of like another example of what we were trying to get away from. Inflating the currency and whatnot.
What do you think about other stablecoin projects? If you've looked into any.
I'm, like I said, huge advocate of Litecoin, Bitcoin. I like Neo. I think Neo is going to be. I think Neo is going to be huge, to be honest with you.
Why is that?
I just see the potential there because of how it's been dubbed like the Chinese Ethereum or whatever, and it basically runs on their blockchain or whatever.
Okay.
I just think that I think the Chinese I've already seen them coming in the Asian market. They're looking for their own thing, I think, and that's kind of like their thing. I think Neo is going to be like right up there.
Okay.
With Ethereum, I actually think Neo might pass Ethereum.
Really?
And then and then I know you're on Steam, and I think Steam has a lot of potential too. I'm really excited about Steam.
I'm on Steam, but I don't own any crypto. I'm just there to just like blog and contribute. But,
me too.
But I like the idea behind Steam. The Steam ecosystem and that's something we could talk about too. So like the Steam ecosystem has grown like crazy. For those of you guys watching, be sure to like and comment and share. But like the Steam ecosystem has grown. I remember when it was just Steam It, and then DTube came out. Now we got Dive, we got Steep Shot. Basically, like any social media that you can think of, there exists either an alpha or a beta version of it in the Steam ecosystem. And I think the idea of like directly monetizing your content using through the Steam ecosystem is just crazy. Like Lewis Thomas was talking about it, and he basically was saying that like, okay, so I think Lewis Thomas has like 100,000 subscribers right now on YouTube, either 90K or 100 or 80K, somewhere between 80 and 100K. And he was saying like, I think he has like under 10,000 on Steemit, but he makes more money on Steemit than he does on YouTube with his 100,000 subscribers. And then you also have to talk about YouTube's demonetization of a whole bunch of crypto YouTubers' videos.
Yeah.
And I think the censorship is crazy when I've seen worse content that's still monetized. And two, it just goes to show you, like, yo, people are being paid pennies on the dollar for their content on YouTube. They're gonna go to a place where, um, they can make they can make money, and two, not have to worry about being censored.
That was initially my idea. I was going to get on YouTube and try to monetize that, and it's not even really worth my time compared to Steemit.com. So
Yeah.
I just think that if you're gonna try to curate or create or vlog, write articles, whatever,
Yeah.
that I think that's a great place to do it. Like you said, it has a decentralized platform. And that's another example of how I think the blockchain is going to help people in other, countries that might not have as easy means to get a hold of cryptos or get into cryptos. I think that'll drive a lot of innovation and adoption there too.
Yeah. Have you looked into So, do you think so? A lot of companies, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, Bitcoin is great, but what we really care about is this blockchain thing. Let's take the blockchain and let's try to do it. Let's try to apply it to our own business. What do you think about businesses that do that? Do you think like it's a scam or whatever?
Oh, it's totally phony. Yeah, you can't have a true blockchain without, in my opinion, one of the top cryptos attached to it, because it just doesn't work the way it should. Automatically centralization comes in, like bad centralization, where you're going to have like people in New York City in suits and making these decisions, or like London, people you don't want, people you really don't want making those decisions. If you want to, I just feel like if you want to get into really hardcore centralized projects, you should just stick with fiat,
Yeah.
Because it's technically a digital currency these days too,
Yeah.
So.
And I'm the same. I'm actually the same kind of way. I'm like, yo, like if first of all, if you take the crypto off it and then you add, okay, we're gonna remove the crypto and we're not gonna make it public anymore. We're gonna make it a private chain. We're gonna remove blocks. By the way, we just want chain transactions. I don't look at it as a blockchain. So I still work. I'm still in corporate America right now. But like when I see a lot of these blockchain solutions that companies are talking about, I get completely confused, and I think that they're missing the point behind not only the blockchain, but two, crypto in general. Because I look at the blockchain as just like it's one of like the 5 or 4 things that go into cryptocurrency. Like, okay, you have the blockchain. Not only do you have a blockchain, but you have cryptography that goes into it. Not only do you have cryptography, but you have distributed systems, and then on top of distributed systems, what you have is you have the censorship resistance too. And I always say blockchain isn't the most important thing behind cryptocurrency; it's the censorship resistance.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube censoring people, like you said, for example, a minute ago, it just seems like I don't even know how that happens in 2018. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're destroying themselves from within, really.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time now. I mean, there's going to be, just like there's 1,000 cryptocurrencies or whatever there is now. There's more than that, I'm sure. Yeah. But whatever the number is, there's going to be a couple hundred platforms that try to mimic what the Steam blockchain's done pretty successfully, if you ask me. And people are gonna get paid for their own content. They're not gonna keep giving Mark Zuckerberg or the head of Twitter and all these other entities their content for free. They're gonna get paid for it. It only makes sense.
Yeah. And kind of why I think a lot of these social media platforms just went on with banning cryptocurrency ads and being very hostile towards crypto content was because I think they identified this as a threat in the long run. And they definitely, and I guess this is the conspiracy theorist in me talking, but they definitely don't want other people promoting this platform where they can make way more money, and to this platform where they can't sue them or anything like that. How do you sue a decentralized system? What are you going to do? Sue every single person? Like what?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was talking to somebody about this same kind of thing the other day with the early like Napster and all that stuff. It was the same idea. This is kind of how it was kind of the birth of crypto. If you think about it, the peer-to-peer file sharing and stuff, it's kind of like morphed into that.
Napster, BitTorrent, all that stuff.
Yeah, the early stuff. And I mean, you didn't see them going after everybody because they don't have that sort of means. You know what I mean?
They don't have that sort of pull. I guess they can only go after the big players. But even on that extent, like I said, with the censorship resistance, there's only so much they could do. Like, the worst thing I could see them doing on Steemit is making an account and putting like $100,000 worth of Steam dollars in it, or just powering up $100,000 with $100,000 and then literally just flagging people's videos down. And even with that, you don't flag their videos down. All it does is it just deprioritizes their video, just blocks their video, so you're still not taking it down. And then
that's a really good point.
And even with that, I spoke about this with somebody else. It's just gonna cause like a flag war when people realize, like, wait, YouTube made a Steemit account and they're flagging other people's videos down. Why don't we all just flag YouTube down? It's like there's not much they can do, and it's a beautiful thing. I think about when you think about it.
I've already seen a lot of people crossing over from YouTube in just a few months that I've been on Steemit.com, but I think it'll be. I wonder why I haven't seen Kim.com yet on there. I don't know if he's on there or not. That seems like the perfect platform for him.
I think that would be like, especially with him and the whole mega upload thing. I'm like, bro, like,
yeah,
you need to. This is the platform for you to be on. Like, we need your support, but like,
we got to send him a tweet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yo, bro, get your ass on Steemit. I promise you, like, this will be the best place for it. This will be the best place wherever. And I'm surprised he wasn't involved in like IPFS or anything like that. I'm like, why don't you made Mega Upload? Why don't you make like a decentralized Mega Upload or some shit like that? I'm like, this is like,
he must be so worried about like his, I don't know, he had so much trouble. Maybe he's just trying to chill for a little bit. Who knows?
I remember that too, yo. Mega Upload used to be like, that was like the spot. Like,
oh yeah.
To get any file, you needed to upload any file. It used to be either FileFront or Mega Upload.
The early days of the internet. I also went back like last week and I was talking with a buddy about XPage. I don't know how old you are. Do you remember XPage?
I actually don't.
It was like XPage was like one of the earliest places where you could go on like a very basic level and make your own internet web page.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's a dead domain now, but I actually found mine from like 2001. Somehow they had screenshot all these, and it's just like so funny to go back and look at that. And I don't know, it'll be like the same way looking at cryptocurrencies here in a couple of years. We'll be like, do you remember the infancy of all these coins? You know.
Now I'm actually pretty young, which is a lot of people are surprised at that. Nah, but like in like 2001, bro, I was in like, I had to be in at least like 3rd grade.
Damn, you just dated me, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, when I heard about Bitcoin, like I was like in high school. Yeah, I had to be like either a junior or senior in high school, and it was about the Silk Road, so it was about drugs.
Oh man, of course, right off the bat they got you with some FUD.
It was a CNN article about drugs, and like back then I was into MMOs and online games, so like I didn't really look too much into it because I thought like the best thing in the world was my own online games and shit like that, like World of Warcraft, RuneScape, MapleStory, all those games and shit. So like when I first heard about it, I thought like I thought if I even Google searched this, because I was paranoid, I thought like the military would pull up at my doorstep and like take
break your door down.
Yeah,
like, I saw your Google search.
Yeah, like the way they spoke about it at the time was like, yeah, this is like the worst thing next to drugs, and I think that is one of the I think that's a really bad thing too. Like the poor media. What's the word I'm looking for? Reporting. On this cryptocurrency, because it's like a lot of people still watch TV, even though a lot of people are on the internet now. Still got a good portion of people who watch TV, and I always say like I know we're getting near mainstream adoption when I see accurate reporting, not just from like YouTubers or bloggers, but like certified. Well, I can't even say they're certified because let's be honest, CNBC is not certified to talk about crypto, but
no, they're really not.
Traditionally certified news outlets giving accurate news on crypto.
Yeah, the early stuff was super toxic on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
it was all Silk Road. Everybody who uses Bitcoin is shooting up heroin, like real over the top stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I literally
they said it was literally funding terrorism and stuff. Like
I can't even remember a time where like I would see something on CNN and it wasn't followed by pictures of drugs or pictures of guns or just
Yeah.
like, generic ass hacker photos of like
Yeah.
the guy behind the computer on the screen is like the Matrix with all that shit. Like,
And there's like a scale sitting on the desk or something,
yeah,
like really shady stuff, like
yeah,
really giving it a bad look.
yeah, and it's just
That was like you said, like we talked about earlier, though. That's definitely all like controlled and by design. There's the people that are running those stories are definitely getting them from somebody.
I would definitely agree. Speaking of like sketchy shit, did you hear about Ian Bellina getting hacked?
No, I don't know about that. No, I didn't hear
So
about that.
Ian Bellina, the guy who does like ICO reviews and all that stuff, he has this YouTube channel called Hacking the System, where he basically shows people how to, not become a six-figure slave. And
Yeah.
basically, what he does is he posts every single day his portfolio. The guy, and he's a very wealthy man. I'll give him that. Like he hustled his way to his crypto wealth. I think his portfolio peaked at like 4 mil at one point during the crypto hype, and it teeters between like 1.8 mil and around like 2.5 mil because ever since the crash. But I'm pretty sure he's at like 6 or 7 mil if we were to go back to December values. But he tweeted a couple of days ago saying that he got hacked for everything, and
Wow.
a lot of people kind of looked at him as like he was tweeting this because he was trying to avoid taxes, because today is the last day to report your taxes if you're in the States, but he's in the UK. He's a UK national. So basically, I mean,
I don't know the kind of timetable they're on, but
they should have finished on last Monday, I believe. Like on the 10th was the last day for them. And I just know that because I've been following the story. But
what are your thoughts? Do you think that that's he was ducking the taxes, or?
I think like he was ducking the taxes because like he said. So this is the way he said he got hacked. He said like somehow. So for some reason he kept his private keys on an Evernote, in an Evernote file, in a quote unquote encrypted Evernote file. That's like me having my private keys on the Post-it note application in Microsoft in Windows.
Yeah.
So he said he kept his private keys in Evernote, in his Evernote account in the encrypted file. Then he said his university account got compromised, and then somehow like they found like his Evernote password, and through his compromised university account, hacked his Evernote account, stole his private keys, took his money, moved it to KuCoin, and like sold everything. Personally,
that's okay. Go ahead, sir.
No. Go ahead. Put your 2 cents. Yeah. Like, give me your 2 satoshis, and then like I'll give you about it.
I like that, 2 satoshis. Yeah, I think I don't know, man. That sounds kind of shady, but you do see some people do some dumb things with people that you would think are smarter do things like that all the time. I don't know. It's hard to. You're definitely a major target if you're getting online and talking about having millions of dollars in your wallet. That's definitely something you want to have squared away before you do any sort of like public.
I look at it like this. Look, if I have first, forget posting my portfolio every day, but if I have even like over 100K in cryptos, which I don't have at all. Like, I don't know any cryptos. People keep asking. I don't own cryptos, but if I were to have 100K cryptos, 100K fiat in cryptos, US dollars, first of all, my private key is not going to be in Evernote. I'm going to have a ledger. But like, forget like 2FA. Like, I'm going to have like 15FA. Like you're going to like, to access my wallet, like you're literally going to need some like biometric identification. Like, I'm going to have to like some type of like, you're going to have to draw blood from me basically to get in any of my crypto wallets. So it made absolutely no sense personally for him to have like 2.5 mil and not have like, at least 2FA.
Were people sending him money after that? Were they like, oh, hey, man, I feel bad for you. Here's some money?
I don't think people were sending him money. I didn't see anyone send him money. I didn't see him say thank you for the donations. But I'm just realistic, yo. If, like, as cheap as I am, if I have 1K, my shit is in a ledger.
Yeah.
If I had cryptocurrencies, it would be in a ledger. I would not be storing my PKs on Evernote. or anything like that. So the dick in me wants to say that he's evading taxes, but the humanist in me is going to say that he genuinely got hacked. He probably thought like, oh, you know, I've been posting my portfolio for 2 years. If they wanted to hack me, they would have hacked me by now.
Yeah, he was probably an easy mark. Well, I'm gonna go with the hack too. We'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, but I'm like, do you believe Trayvon James got hacked for $1 million too? Because he was showing his.
Oh no, absolutely not. You can't believe anything that guy says.
Yeah, I'm just like.
No,
Nah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, he's totally phony. I don't believe anything he says. He was definitely one of the people that really sucked. I don't know how he did it, man, but he was good enough at. He's got a quick tongue or whatever you want to say. He was very savvy at convincing people that he was actually getting rich, which he actually was getting rich, but he wasn't getting rich through the lending program. He was getting rich through, fooling these people, basically.
He was getting rich through referrals, holy referrals.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting, especially when he got in, when BitConnect was doing that 7-tier referrals thing, versus the what is it called? Versus like the 3-tier referrals that they switched to. Like he made most of his money through that.
I'll be honest with you. When I saw that first BitConnect commercial, man, I just started laughing. It was like, how is anyone going to fall for this? And then it was just like every day, like we talked about. And I don't know. It worries you about some of the people out there. Like, yeah. You should not be investing in cryptocurrencies if you fall for it.
I mean, first of all, we went to the website. The website was full of typos. The website just looked sketchy at all. It didn't really, no white paper as far as I know. No white paper. No real deep explanation into how it works. No like open source code for you to see like what the hell this lending bot.
They just said there was a bot, right?
Yeah.
They had a trading bot.
I guess you could argue that, okay, if they have a trading bot, maybe it's proprietary. They don't want to show you that it works. But I'm like, dude, clear the FUD. If you're not going to show us how the bot works, at least show us like some snippets of code. You don't need to show us how it works, but just show us a couple functions. Show us a trading function or whatever. Clear the FUD. Absolutely nothing. We don't even know who the founders of this thing were.
Yeah, if there's something I could say about cryptocurrencies, and I always say, I'm not an expert or I don't give financial advice. You have to say that after BitConnect because they ruined it for everyone.
Yeah.
But I would stay away from any lending platforms. I'm just not a fan of any of the lending platforms.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any platform in crypto that promises to offer you a return, because you can promise anything in this space.
Yeah.
There are literally no promises. Like I said, everything could literally crash tomorrow. I mean, look at what we saw in December. Mt. Gox, like nothing is promised in this space. Even exchanges are not secure. We know all this, but people still are looking for something to trust. And I personally look at that as like, okay, that's one of the lessons that people are learning in this space. Sometimes you got to go through some pain for you to learn something. Like with Mt. Gox, I think everybody in the Mt. Gox era, I'm pretty sure that they know that they should not put any of their money on exchanges. But you can't tell that to a lot of the new people. A lot of the new people still put their money on exchanges. And it's going to take these events like BitConnect, like exchanges getting hacked, for people to realize that. Like CoinChat got hacked. BitGrail got hacked, even with Nano. Now Nano's involved in a class action lawsuit for.
Yeah, so many Nano got stolen.
Yeah, like people do not people just don't learn. But going back a little bit, bro. What do you think? So you said Neo. You think Neo is gonna surpass Ethereum? I want to hear about that.
I don't have any like deep secrets on that or whatever. But it just seems to me that I don't know. I don't even have a timetable. Maybe in the next 18 months or something. It's just a guess.
Wow.
Really out there. I know. There's something about Neo. I actually watched one of their conferences. I forget what the guy's name. Who was on site. He's a YouTuber, and I think he's on some other. But he was there covering the space and stuff, and I got to watch a little bit of it, and I was just impressed with some of the people they were putting forth there, working on that.
I'll be honest, a lot of these smart contract platforms, they have very, very smart people behind them, like putting in work in the trenches, getting stuff done. But I will say from an economic standpoint, though, that I look at smart contracts, or basically smart contract tokens, are virtually commodities, don't you think? I mean, like they're fuel for they're essentially fuel for their network for their to fuel the smart contracts. You need
Yeah, I think that's how gas works
yeah,
too, isn't it?
yeah, gas is
Yeah,
Ethereum.
yeah. Gas is like the exact thing that you just explained
Yes.
for Neo.
Yeah.
It like fuels the Neo blockchain, I
Yeah.
believe.
Gas.
I don't know the inner workings that well to explain it better than that, but you kind of nailed it, I think, with
Yeah.
what you said there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's personally for me. That's kind of what I've been looking for. I've been looking for truth. I've been trying to see like, okay, where are we gonna be? Not next year, but where are we gonna be in 10 years? And it's just crazy because like I said, I'm really big on the research side, just because that's the people that I happen to be around a lot. I speak to, and it's just crazy from a research standpoint personally, like how far we've come to. Again, a lot of this is economics too, evaluating well not evaluating but looking at these cryptos, looking at the properties of these crypto assets, and then being able to just break it down into different classes. And smart contracts like Cardano, Ethereum, Neo, these crypto assets are virtually commodities. Like you need to have the token to use the smart contract. Like you said with Neo, you need gas.
Mm-hmm.
With Ethereum, you need Ether, which is also called gas on Ether's network. So I mean, when I look at, and again, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but like when I look at it from economics, it seems like the biggest crypto asset that is going to be the biggest one is a cryptocurrency, because when you look at the market cap of currencies, they are far higher than the market cap of commodities. Like, what is the market cap of money? It has to be in like the hundreds of trillions.
Yeah, I don't know, sure, but that makes perfect sense
Yeah.
what you just said. I agree with you. The number one always has to be an actual blockchain, not a smart contract thing. I would think.
Yeah.
For the reasons you just said, and because if you want to get into like supply and stuff, like that is why I'm so big on Bitcoin, Litecoin, and I think Vitalik is talking about. I don't know if you saw that, he's actually talking about capping the
I
Ethereum
did see that.
supply at 100. I think it was 120 million.
Yeah.
And what are they? I think they're at like 90 million now, or something like that. So it'd be like almost 3/4 done or 3/5 done, I think. So that'd be an interesting. If he comes out and says that publicly, I think the price of Ethereum really could shoot up fast.
Fixed supply is the Austrian economist wet dream.
Yeah, it is.
Literally.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. The more paper, or the more scarcity, the better. So you get people with libido dominandi, the lust for power and control of a money supply.
Yeah.
And they're going to destroy it, and they're going to make you their slave. And I think that is really the beauty of cryptos, other than having no intermediary. Just the finite supply is almost as important as anything, because without that, you have another inflatable currency.
Yeah. So what's your take? Speaking of which, so what's your take on, I guess the future? Do you see like, okay, BTC like beating fiat in a sense of like, okay, countries are going to start taking in Bitcoin and using it as tender? I mean, we've seen it's legal tender in Japan, but what do you see?
I don't know if it'll ever surpass fiat. That's another like anarchist wet dream, or Austrian wet dream there.
Yeah.
But it could. I don't know. I think we're gonna see like honestly, in the next 5 to 10 years, I think we could see like localized cryptos pop up, where like almost in a barter type way, where you're doing like really low community stuff on the. That would be really cool to me. Like if you were really doing like a community-based crypto,
Yeah.
where you could go to like even a whole market or whatever, like a farmer's market.
Yeah. I think
and stuff like that. I think that would be really neat.
Yeah, we're seeing that now. Like I've seen a couple documentaries, and exactly what you just spoke about. Like they have that in New York, but I guess like we're gonna see like a bigger explosion of that, especially with regulations starting to get tighter and tighter. Regulation is gonna take years, just because we know regulators are slow. But like as a lot of these regulators, whether they become friendly or hostile, if they become hostile, it's going to be good for the local markets, like you said, because it's going to encourage people to interact face to face with one another. And then we're going to start to see the boom of, okay, people doing peer-to-peer trades with crypto, people just interacting with each other just over crypto. I mean, in Argentina, people literally will go to Starbucks and bars and stuff just to exchange crypto.
Yeah, I've met so many good people already in like the cryptoverse or whatever you want to call it, man. You're gonna you're gonna meet so many more good people in the future, but like, that's another Austrian sort of standpoint. I love Austrian economics, but really localizing it and keeping, if you're gonna have like government or that sort of like um, ecosystem around a currency,
Yeah.
it's good to keep it as small as possible. If so you don't have a lot of centralization. You don't have a lot of well, I guess you would have some sort of centralization because it's local, but you would be able to opt in and out just like any other major crypto. I guess you could have competing local cryptocurrencies even,
I mean,
and I'm sure you will.
yeah, I mean, personally, my take on it is like, okay, if this thing does not become like, if this thing does not, if countries aren't taking at least 1 to 5% of their reserves and holding it in like Bitcoin or some kind of crypto, I honestly see it as an escape. And this is what I'm seeing now. I see it long term as like a hedge against other people's. It's a hedge against fiat currency in general for certain countries, especially if you're in like Venezuela, you're in China, where a lot of people argue that they inflate their own currency to keep it to keep the dollar value low relative to like the US dollar and stuff like that. I see it as a hedge against fiat currencies, and also as the price or market cap goes up and continues to rise,
Yeah.
I think it can become that escape from other currencies, and because of that, when everybody knows about it and the ease of access to it increases, it's going to force countries to have a more, I don't want to say, it's going to force countries to get their monetary policy right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you see Venezuela already with the petro. They're doing the petro, and I think Russia and them are already trading oil now.
Yeah, like
they're gonna trade oil in the petro.
Yep, it's gonna force those countries to play nice, because at the end of the day, hey, we're all just gonna buy Bitcoin, and whether or not you like it, like there are only so many things you can regulate. Even with fiat currency, a lot of the reason why we use it is because like it's enforced by law that businesses have to accept this currency. Even like if you've read the Creature of Jekyll Island, if you go back to like the 1800s, even like the late 1700s, when there were times where like the United States was forced to use fiat currency, and even before that, like fiat currency existed in even the colonies. And what happened was like they made a decree, like it was the decree, like you had to use these banknotes or else like it was punishable by death. Like if your business did not accept it, it was punishable by death.
We've seen people slay the central banks before. It was before they were called central banks. It was like Andrew Jackson First Bank or whatever, the U.S. It was in the first, I think it was the first bank of the U.S. And he slashed that, and then it always comes back, like you said, to the Creature of Jekyll Island. And I think there's only three countries now without a
reserve,
certain family owned central bank.
Don't say that.
Syria.
Don't say that family, bro. I don't want my video to get taken now.
Yeah, Syria, North Korea, and there's one more. Iran. I think Iran, yeah. But it's interesting.
Ironically, we just bombed one of those countries.
Yeah, isn't that odd how that works?
Yeah.
Syria does have a central bank, but it's state backed.
Yeah.
Not like it's not like ours per se.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just crazy how like you can, like in some weird way, all the world events that we're seeing going on, especially the major ones where we're talking about borderline war, a lot of it all comes down to just money.
Yeah, it really does. It's kind of sad, I think that's people are not only like starved like for a chance to gain wealth, but like just to free, peace. I think my entire life, I was in high school when 9/11 started, but half my life now, it's like we've been at war. It's just kind of getting old.
Yeah.
I've never been a proponent of war, but
yeah,
I'm just so over war, and I don't know. I think everyone else is too.
I even say that too, because like I think like my entire childhood, even after 9/11, I think we've literally always been in some country doing something. I think that's crazy. Like I can't remember my and yeah, it's very crazy. Like literally my entire childhood, we've been at war in some country. I think that's crazy now that I think about it. I never
And
really
then,
thought about
yeah, it is. It's I think my entire life basically. And I'm 32.
it. Yeah,
And then you look at you want to talk about Austrian economics, then you really like dig into that, like read Murray Rothbard, Man, Economy and State with Power and Market.
yeah.
Start there. And it's like 1,100 page place to start economic treatise, but it's actually written for like
What's it
anybody
called
can
again?
read that. Man, Economy and State
Man, economy
with
and state.
Power and Market. Yeah, it's probably my favorite book I've ever read. But nothing good comes out of war. Uh, nothing productive. A lot of waste comes out of war. So you learn like all the time and effort of these people is wasted on building war machines and stuff.
Yeah,
That theory, the Keynesian theory that stimulates the economy is just ridiculous. Dropping bombs and blowing up things, you're destroying things. You took productive energy,
yeah.
you took your energy and made these things, and you're just blowing them up. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
make any
yeah.
sense.
That's a funny theory. Let's go to war to stimulate the economy.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
Unless you're in charge of one of those central banks and you're going to war with weapons that are paid for with currency that is created out of debt, then it makes a lot of sense.
So for people who don't know about that, do you mind like explaining? Because I know about it and I know you know about it, but there are people who are still relatively new who don't know about it. Do you mind explaining that?
Well, how the government basically, prints money with interest.
Yeah. So
They print money with interest to, you know, every dollar that's printed is printed at interest with an interest rate.
Yep.
Or so we can never pay back the debt. Essentially, you can never pay the debt back since there's no backing to the currency, and that's another reason we were talking about finite money supplies.
Yeah. And then the war economy on top of that.
Oh yeah, and then you have the military-industrial complex coupled with that, which has lobbyists in D.C. and around the world that figure out reasons to go to war because certain lobbyists are very wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's only called lobbying if it involves politics. In the streets, it's called bribing.
Yeah, it really is. If you try to do half of the things that they like, one good example is the government's like paying states to reduce speed limits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I heard a story sort of like that, and one of the states said that they weren't, the states, could you imagine like the federal government went to the states and like bribed them with cash to like change their speed limits?
Oh my
But if
God.
like it's just kind of crazy. Things like that actually happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of coercion at that level.
Give me 1 second. I gotta share this to a friend. Friend wants to link to this. Real good conversation, by the way.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this, Norman. It's a good time.
Oh, that's why. I need to how do I take this thing off? Yeah, ever since I started like vlogging and stuff, I've literally I realized just how much work it is. Like you have to learn how all these things work.
Yeah, you think you know the in and outs of everything until you start producing like vlogs and any sort of digital content, really, and you're posting it every day.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've recorded something only to realize, one, my mic was turned off the entire time, or two, I literally forgot to press record.
I haven't had that happen to me yet since I'm like really low budget on the way I do my videos right now. I shoot them all on my phone, and I've had a couple people like, hey, why don't you turn it horizontally? I'm like, well, because it doesn't work that way, the way I set it on my desk.
Yeah, listen, man,
like,
the Pittsburgh HODLr,
I'm just talking. Yeah.
The Pittsburgh HODLr does everything old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do your videos the same way as Bitcoin Ben, and look at him.
That's true. I like Bitcoin Ben. I've watched a lot of his.
Yeah, he's very good speaker. He knows how to get people excited.